Welcome to the first part of The Last Adventurer. First of all, please subscribe to my channel. My goal is 1,000 subscribers. In the start, we see that everything is getting destroyed. There are so many monsters. Many people are standing on the bank of the cliff. We see that so many monsters and the king of the dragon, Gornhate, are coming for them. She says, I guess the centaur's nest has fallen. There is nothing else we can depend on now. The Signals Knights, the Resistance, the Cross Hunters, all the adventurers, and the 6 heroes that the people saw as their ray of hope, they're all dead. You're the only one remaining, the last adventurer, El Palm. Let's go. This is our final adventure. They are standing against the King of Dragon. After that, we see that Palm is very injured, and everyone who was on his team is dead. King of Dragon is also dead. Palm thinks that this is the end for him. Dragon is recreating the head that he cut off. He thinks that everything that he did until now was for nothing. The Dragon King is alive again. This is my end, the world's end, and our adventure too. He hit the ground and says, as if this is how it all ends. He remembers how his comrades sacrificed themselves to win the battle. He says, I can't accept this. Gornhate, this cannot be how it ends. He is trying to attack the dragon, but he can't because of his injuries. Dragon is about to launch its final attack. Palm thinks, why did it have to end like this? If only I were more powerful, if I had one more chance. Someone wakes him up saying, wake up, you piece of shit. He is in jail. He thinks, what? What about Gornhale? Am I alive? Wait, this place. We see there are slaves other than him. People are here purchasing slaves. It's the slave market. Palm thinks, no way, the slave market was abolished long ago. But this place is definitely that merchant. If my memory serves me right, he's the merchant that was in charge of me 6 years ago when I was a slave. Right? He's definitely the same guy. Then I am back in the past. That day, I was brought back to the starting point of all stories. Am I dreaming right now? No, it's too realistic. I can't believe it, but there's also no other explanation. We see one merchant talking to some people. He says, all the guys here are slaves meant to be used as bait, so pick and choose. They're in good shape. We got them only recently. White Hair Man says, all right, I'll take both. Palm thinks, there's no reason to overthink it. This is my second chance. After that, we see that Palm is free from jail. He killed everyone who purchased him. He thinks, a staff for fire arrow. Not a bad skill. It's perfect for my skill level right now too, but this isn't enough. An adventurer should have more than just a weapon. Otherwise, there's no point in coming back here. Right? There are sometimes guys who hide valuables in their shoes. He finds a ring. After wearing that, he thinks, this is the telekinesis ring. He notices that there are so many monsters behind him. He took out his weapon and said, did they smell the blood? They all run to attack him. One monster breaks his weapon. He is looking very shocked. After that, he took out the staff that he picked up earlier and used the fire arrow to attack the monsters. He kills one monster. Now he is thinking about testing the ring. He is controlling the fire arrow with the telekinesis ring and killing all the monsters with just one arrow. He thinks, I can't keep it up for too long. Well, I guess that doesn't matter. He suddenly notices that the fire arrow is not working. He thinks it doesn't seem to be broken. Is it on cooldown? That leaves me with no choice. He starts attacking them without using the fire arrow. After some time, he thinks, how long is the cooldown? Now he uses the fire arrow again and controls it with the ring. He kills as many monsters as he can. One person is barely alive. She says, you're no ordinary slave. Spearmanship and magic too. Who are you? Palm thinks, she got lucky. Well, I guess unlucky is the best choice in the world. She says, why do you have that staff? And that on your wrist? How did you awaken when you're just a slave? Was all this you scheme? Palm asks her, are you done talking? Sorry, but you got it wrong. Not that anything would have differed even if I had planned this. I would have killed you all either way. I absolutely abhor people like you who use slaves as bait. After that, we see a town. Palm is there. People are looking at him and says that he is a bait slave. How did he came back on his own? Palm thinks, the dice have already been thrown. I need to hurry in order to avoid repeating the same fate. Then first, I need to free myself. We see two people. One person says, the slaves returned back alive? Reporter says, yes. That's the case, Mr. Abbeys. Apparently, he returned without a single scratch. Abbeys says, what's wrong with that? It's not unlucky for someone meant to be the bait to return safe and sound, is it? He says, all the adventurers accompanying him died inside the dungeon. Abbeys says, what? So he's the only one who made it out alive. That's definitely unusual. On top of that, you say he didn't run away and came back here on his own feet. People who've been reduced to slave because of debt will end up as bait again, even if they come back alive. Despite that he didn't run away. That means he's well aware he can't get out of our hold that easily, because the sole means of escaping is through death. That's the way of the Gaffer Merchant Union, isn't it? So why do I have to be reported about such a trivial matter? Reporter says, there's another report besides this. That slave unlocked the first circle. Abbeys gets shocked and says, the slave who is a bait is now one circle, you say. He thinks a slave would harbor negative sentiments towards the merchant union, and if things go wrong. Reporter says, to add on, he's asked for a change in contract. It seems he'd like to register as an adventurer. Abbeys says, a lowly slave dares? He doesn't know his place. Reporter tells him that Mr. Racken ordered for you to personally look into this matter. Annis gets shocked and thinks, an executive of the Gaffer Merchant Union is showing interest in a lowly slave for this reason. No, that can't be it. Is it because of that? Reporter leaves the place. Abbeys stands near the window and says, a bait who wants to be an adventurer. Under Queen signals, the status of a slave shall not exist. That is but some superficial talk. Humans have always been slaves to Meso. If they fail to pay back what they borrow, they make up for it through labor. That notion was created by the Maple World's so-called slaves. On the day when my only family, my father, collapsed after an illness, I became one of them as well. Black moss, the herb that I purchased from the Gaffer Merchant Union on credit. The Merchant Union set the price for the black moss at multiple times its current price, at 1 million meso. I was not able to pay the debt. Thus, I was exploited for 6 whole years under the Union. Now it's time for revenge. Abbeys and Palm is sitting in front of each other. Palm tells Abbeys his name and things. Abbeys, was it? The left-hand man of Racken, one of the executives of the unions. I've caught a good fish. Abbeys asks him, so you want to modify the contract? I've already received the report about you, so I'll keep it short. I'll change your contract into one for an F-rank adventurer. Palm says thank you and thinks he accepted my demand way too easily, as I though. He's being cautious of that. Palm says to him that he won an E-rank. Abby says, what?
Ranke?
For you? The Adventurer Association hasn't even assigned you a rank. Palm says, I've already explored over hundreds of gates in the past 3 years as the baiting slave. Abby says, that still makes it experience as a bait. You've never caught a monster. Palm asks him, since when has monster hunting been a virtue for an adventurer? The reason the first adventurer was able to make a name for himself was survival. The virtue of an adventurer is returning alive. Abby says, I admit that's true. You're certainly right that surviving as a baiting slave for 3 years is no ordinary feat. But that's all it is. You all only enter dungeons ranking low in difficulty. Do you really think that pathetic survival ability of yours will work in higher ranking gates? It seems you take us for idiots who'd offer a risky contract to someone who'll die without even having to pay our money back. Abbeys thinks, lunatic. He thinks he's all that. He'll die without being able to go far. Although, what is this repulsive feeling I'm getting? Abbeys says, there's this one gate. Only 5 can enter, and it has 12 scars. That right? Bones of at least 12 parties are buried there. Prove it if your worth is what you say it is. I'll do what you want. After that we see that the party is ready to go inside the dungeon. One person's name is Chev. He says, so you're the rookie we're going with. Nice to meet you. My position's Tank. I heard about you from Mr. Abbeys. So you were a baiting slave. I don't care about stuff like that, so don't worry. The same goes for my comrades. Palm says, I hope we can have a nice time working together. Chev says, I heard you can use fire magic. They says, what do you mean? The elemental magic you can use is decided? I heard mages can't use magic of elements other than the one they're born with. So apparently, an item that's unrelated to their element is useless for them. Enough chit-chat, you must have heard it already, but for this mission, the goal isn't hunting monsters. Our goal is to safely retrieve the items left behind by the 12 parties who were annihilated before us. And then, we just have to return the items we retrieved to the Union. I heard, they're giving 3,000 meso for each item. They're about to enter the dungeon. They are inside the dungeon. They are planning on building their base on top of the tree so they can survive in this dungeon. White Hair Man says to Palm, you can just rest. Setting up base in mine and that idiot speciality. Now that the base is all set up, we'll split in 2 groups and search the surroundings. Tom, Max, and ROA. They are in one team. Chev says, we'll each take the east and west side, scout, and get back. If something happens, send a signal and rush to the base. Got it? Palm and Chev are in one team. Chev says, how come we haven't come across a single monster, let alone an item? Did we fix our spot too early? We're gonna have to move further inside tomorrow. That aside, how's your first mission as an adventurer looking? He tells him that he is feeling nervous. Chev says, right? That's how it is, you know. I've been an adventurer for a long time. Yet every time I step inside a gate, I'm nervous about it. I've always been a scaredy cat. But despite that, I can have courage because I've got good people by my side. Praising them myself might sound awkward, but they're really good people. I felt very sorry when I heard about your story. Baiting slave. I can only imagine how hard it must have been. On that topic, if it's okay with you, how about joining our? Palm is not listening anything. Chev says, I wasn't being serious about that. So don't worry about it. Now they are sitting together and eating food. Max asks from Chev, you think we'd find them so easily? Chev says, stop talking about work when we're eating, can you? You can always talk about it tomorrow. In midnight, Chev says, Palm, are you sleeping? Tom says, Captain, what are you doing? This guy's lost in his dreams. How would he answer you? Wow, what a turn of events. They literally changed their personalities. You're so damn cautious. Did you forget what we mixed in his food? That sleeping herb could even make a mushroom weighing 100s of kilograms fall asleep. He gulped down so much of it. He'd be lucky not to die. By the way, a fire arrow wand? That's at least 10,000 meso. Tom is about to attack. He says, then let's get working, shall we? Tom is about to attack the place where Palm was sleeping. After attacking there, he finds out that there are just some stones and wood. All of them get shocked. Chev angrily asks them to find Palm. Suddenly a big explosion happens. They dodge the explosion, but now their hideout is destroyed. They think that the Palm is doing all this. Max says, Boss? We see there is a big slime-type monster with one eye. Chev gets scared and says, could it be? Palm, that bastard. Did he use us as bait? They are trying to run away from the monster. We see that Palm is sitting on the tree watching the whole show. Palm thinks, how lacking. They shouldn't have been so kind if they wanted to trick me. In a gate where over 12 parties that have veteran adventurers fail, they'd welcome a bait like me? It's obvious they were up to something. Anyway, the boss monster of this area was that guy. I had an inkling that it was that thing from the broken parts, but it's bigger than I thought. Boss is destroying everything that gets in its way. Chev says that this is a disadvantageous type for them. Max asks him if he knows something about that thing. Boss tells him that this thing is called the gold slime. It's not something you normally see in Maple World. It's a rare boss monster that only comes out of red gates. That thing's body is acid. It's the worst matchup possible for melee adventurers like us. And the most dangerous part is it has long-range attacks too. Boss attacks with an acid, but they dodge it. This attack is called an acid arrow. It's a skill that lets it shoot out its body's acid. Max is very scared and says that this is cheating. They are running from the boss monster. Max asks him if there is even a way to deal with this thing. Chev tells him that we should get out of here first. Its acid arrow should have a cooldown of 1 minute. We'll recover and look for a chance. We have to go for the core in that thing's head. Tom says that its skill is on cooldown and runs to attack it, saying that we still have enough time. Just leave it to me. Chev tries to stop him, saying that they should attack together, but he doesn't listen to him. Boss uses an acid arrow again and cuts Tom in half. Shev is very shocked and says that there should still be over 10 seconds left on its cooldown. Boss starts spamming acid arrows. Everyone, including Shev, is dead now. Palm is seeing everything. He thinks, looks like it's over. Shev, your words weren't wrong. However, a gold slime eats items and grows stronger accordingly. I'm guessing that the cooldown time decreased as it got stronger. That thing's abnormal size and almost non-existent cooldown arrow. Now I know why the parties that came before have all failed. That thing is already out of its class. That thing has grown so much that it could be a fit for a yellow gate, which is 2 levels above a red gate. It's no longer a monster that a one-circle adventurer can handle. I'm sure there aren't any more items left in this dungeon. Looks like the mission is a failure. He remembers what Abby says to him. We see that the boss monster suddenly gets attacked by something. Palm is the one who attacked him. He says, is it because of its magic resistance? I'm sure I aimed for its core directly. Not bad. If it's like this, for more shots no, I need to hit it at least 5 more shots. Well, not like it matters. I'll just prove it to you. Boss uses the golden arrows to attack Palm. Palm is dodging all of its arrows one by one. Palm thinks, I have to hit the exact same spot without error. An ordinary mage wouldn't even think of doing such a thing. But I'm not your run-of-the-mill mage. One of the titles I held in my previous life is the best telekinetic. He uses the fire arrow and attacks it at the exact same spot again. For more shots left. Palm dodged the boss's attacks and used the fire arrow again. Now 3 shots left. Now 2 more. He landed 1 more attack on the boss. Now just 1 more attack left. He is using the sword with rope attached to it and also telekinesis to dodge the boss's attacks in midair. He uses the fire arrow last time. Boss tries to stop the attack, but he just uses telekinesis and changes the trajectory of the attack. After landing the final hit, boss gets destroyed. But there was so much acid flooding the whole place. Palm had to save himself from all this. After that, Palm gets a red thing that the boss drops. He takes that thing. We see that the red barrier appears around him. Palm is back and sitting in front of Abby's. Abby's says, so you weren't a big talker, but you're back alone again? And without the item you were commissioned for. Palm says, the ones you brought into my team were newbie hunters, who were up to no good trying to take my items. When I left the group to avoid them, they encountered the boss monster and it seems they all died. Palm tells him that the boss monster's name was Gold Slime. Abby's realizes that if the boss monster's name is Gold Slime, then all items should be melted. Palm tells him that it all melted away. Abby's thinks, damn it, to think that all of the rented Merchant Union items were destroyed. This is a loss that can't be ignored. And the problem is that guy came out of it alive. There are a few common rules at gates. First, the entrance number of people is limited. Only the number marked on the gate pillars can enter, and after that, the gate will be deactivated until everyone inside is annihilated. Second, there are entrance limitations based on the gate's difficulty level and the circle level. The gate's difficulty levels are indicated by its color, ranging from the red gate to the purple gate, and those with higher circles than the gate difficulty cannot enter. Third, there is only one chance to raid the gate. This is the biggest obstacle when targeting gates, and if someone enters, survives, and comes out, that gate is destroyed and cannot be entered again. So as long as the adventurers who entered the gate don't die, there will be no other change. So the gate is already a lost cause. Well, honestly, a gold slime would have been too difficult for first circles to face. Abby says to Palm, I see. So only you barely managed to survive. And since, as you said, all the items melted, I understand why you couldn't retrieve them. But regardless of the reason, the fact remains that you failed it. Palm says, how impatient. I didn't finish my explanation yet. The gold slime. I ate it. Not Palm has 2 circles on his hand. Abby's asks him, 2 circles? Did you absorb the mana stone that came from the gold slime? Palm says, I think this is enough to prove myself. Now, as promised, give me earache. Abby says, deerache. I'll give you a deerache. No, if you work together with me, I'll treat you like a C-rank adventurer. Palm is signing the contract. Abby's thinks, normally, giving someone who isn't even a 3rd circle a C-rank adventurer would be considered excessive treatment. Adventurer ranks are heavily influenced by circles. Circles signify power. The difference is clearly evident. But this bastard isn't normal. You can't circle up just because you use a mana stone. Did he say it was survival instincts? Yes, he has that.
Survival instincts, no overwhelming talent.
Someone who just became a first circle returned in no time as a second circle. I've never seen this speed before. I need him. Palm looks at Abby's face and thinks, my treatment improved faster than expected. It seems he's pretty impatient. Well, there's not much time left. The Red Rank's first 100-member gate raid. The big even that Lithport's merchant unions and guilds were all watching happened around now. Obviously, Gaffer Merchant Union must also be quite interested in it. Well, there's no harm in that. I'm also in a rush. While we're at it, it might be a good thing to advance my plans. Palm says, I have a favor. Please lend me some money. Abby's thinks that this bastard is going too far. In the start of this chapter, we learn that some people say that the gate started the age of adventurers, but it was all a trap of the black magician. Many adventurers died in the gates, killing off the future potential of the Maple world. In the last day that came after, all the monsters bided their time and came rushing through the gates, and we lost. Exactly 3 years from now, the fate that the Maple world will face isn't far off. We see that Palm has already left the place. He got some money from Abby's and thinks that this isn't enough. However, it should be good enough to get started. The 100-member gate found this time is a red level. Only those up to 2 circles can enter it. Usually, the Gaffer Merchant Union would only select high-circled adventurers. The reason for them to invest in a second circle like me is because of Gaffer Merchant Union is aiming for that gate. While I've obtained some money, spending it all on items would be foolish. Items that would fit my level would be too expensive. If I were to think of something useful to buy with this money, we see an entrance to a place. There is a board telling the name, but I can't understand this. One person says to him that he is glad because Palm chose Litha's slave market. He assumes that he is an adventurer and asks for permission to guide Palm. Man asks him about what kind of companion he wants, a dungeon bait or a warrior to fight alongside. Palm asks him to lead the way for him because Palm has someone he is looking for. Man takes Palm to the punishment ward. He tells him that they use place to punish those who act up, like that person you're looking for. Man is worried and asks Palm if he is sure that he wants this guy. Man was about to tell him something, but he tells the man that he already knew about this person. He's the one Palm is looking for. Palm tells us that before his return, there was an accident where the death of a person sped up the end of the Maple world. Polearm hero, Aaron. That girl was killed. Aaron's first and last student. The person that set off the start of the end. Hero killer, Dibwa. This is the person. Dibwa asks him if he came for him. Dibwa tells him that he doesn't know him and asks him to get lost. Man is apologizing from Palm because of Dibwa's rudeness. Palm thinks that Dibwa's behavior might have been different before his return. Now he's just a slave. Treating adventurers this way, even as a slave, it's beyond rude. Man tells him that there is no other person crazy like Dibwa. Palm smiles and thinks that not just in personality, but in skill too. Alongside Palm, he's one of the few who gained attention after the last day. They've often been compared. Palm and Dibwa are from the same region, awakened around the same time, and are similarly skilled. But what's most similar was, Palm asks Dibwa about how much he cost. Dibwa assumes that he is a young master from a rich family, and asks him can he pay as much as he asks. Dibwa demands 1 million meso. Palm thought to himself that it was the fact that both Dibwa and he were in dire need of money. Dibwa had a younger sister that had the black blood disease. Dibwa asks him to get lost if he doesn't have money and asks him to not act cocky. Dibwa gets shocked after seeing that Palm does have money to buy him. Dibwa asks him, is that real money? Palm tells him about the contract. The contract terms are 1 year and profit 7 to 3. Palm will have the priority of choice for the items that drop from the gate. He gives Dibwa the contract and asks him to take a look at it. Dibwa snatched the contract from his hands and told him that there's no taking back. He cut his thumb and accepted the contract. Palm says to him that the contract is now sealed, so they are going to head straight to the gate. Dibwa accepts his request. Palm tells him that he has to prove his worth. Dibwa smiles and tells him that he'll work harder than anyone he has ever seen before. They are in the forest. Dibwa is holding a weapon. Dibwa tells him that he is grateful because he bought a weapon for him, but Dibwa normally uses a long sword. That's why he asks him to head back and change the weapon. Palm tells him that from now on, he'll be using a polearm when working with me. If he doesn't like that, they can end the contract. They reach the gate entrance. Dibwa asks him if he is going to use this gate as a test. This is a red level, with one scar with an entry limit of 8. Looks like it's the right place. Dibwa asks him about the rest of the party. Dibwa assumes that their boss is rich, so they should have good party members. Dibwa asks Palm why is he looking at him like that. Palm tells him that there's no need to worry about party members. They have enough. Dibwa is now relieved and says that he got scared for no reason. Palm points a finger at him and says here. Dibwa gets shocked and asks him what? Palm throws him inside the gate and says, don't waste time. Let's head in quickly. Now they're inside the gate. Dibwa is angry at him and asks him if he is crazy. Doing an 8-person gate with just 2 people? Dibwa asks him if there is no limit to his craziness. Does this look like a joke to him? He says that he had to use a weapon that he was not used to. Suddenly he notices that so many monsters are coming toward them. These are stumps. Dibwa thinks that he messed up. Due to his yelling. They're known for their tough bark that swords and spears struggle to pierce. And those numbers on top of that. Palm goes forward and asks Dibwa to move. Dibwa asks him to stop. Palm uses a fire arrow and start burning some monsters. He is controlling the arrow with telekinesis and killing as many monsters as he can with just one arrow. Palm tells him that he is disappointed because he asks like that as soon as they enter a gate. Palm asks him not to make this kind of mistake again. Dibwa thinks about who is this monster. We see a big palace. There is a girl reporting to someone. She tells that the merchants have taken the bait. She also says that they're still working out a time for the plan, but they've already picked out the people they'll be sending. She asks if they have his permission to proceed. We see a person holding a glass. He gave her permission. He says that everything will be done according to that person's will. Freedom for the Maple World. Dibwa is very shocked and says, a total of 27. I've gathered all the mana stones. Palm says to him, then, let's go. They are walking in the desert. Dibwa thinks, though he was just a crazy bastard, but he's no joke. Is it telekinesis? I've never even heard of anyone using a fire arrow like that. If I'm with a talented person like this, will I be able to make a lot of money? Awesome. Since it's 70 to 30, I'll be able to save some medical expenses and living expenses. Palmer says, found it. Another group of stumps. Dibwa tells him that there are around 9 of them. Palm says, yes, a perfect number. Dibwa asks him what he means by a perfect number. Dibwa is attacking the stumps alone. He thinks, damn it. I have to fight these bastards by myself? I've never used this weapon before, so it's kind of annoying. Having 10 lives wouldn't be enough for this. Dibwa is fighting with all of them alone and Palm is spectating him from afar. He thinks, he said he's only used swords, which is obvious with how awkward he moves. But he will soon realize that the polearm is the weapon that'll make him the strongest. There's no need to even doubt his talent, since he's the sole person to be chosen by polearm hero Aaron as her student. Dibwa kills many stumps and thinks, look at that. The polearm, it has a big range and is powerful. If anything, it's more comfortable than the sword. After I stop tensing up, it feels lighter. If I whirled it even more gently, then he is using the polearm perfectly and killing many stumps. Palm thinks he got a hang of it pretty quickly. He hasn't even awakened a circle yet, but is already this good. Suddenly the ground started shaking. Mountains and something big come out of it. That thing is so big. Dibwa asks, what is that? A stumpy? This stump is so much bigger than the other stumps. Palm saved Dibwa from its attack. Palm says, its size has nothing to do with its threat. If anything, it's easier to hit it. Dibwa is smiling and thinks, yes, magic can work. Stumpy stops Palm attack. Palm thinks, its reaction is faster than I thought. Then what about this? He uses another attack, but this time also uses telekinesis with it. He thinks, one shot for now. Stumpy block his attack again. Palm is very shocked. He says magic isn't working either. Dibwa says to Palm, why are you just standing there? If you don't want to die, run. Palm thinks, it's not that the attack don't work. It wouldn't have blocked them if that was the case. The problem is the branches. Stumpy is using its branches to attack them. Plum uses telekinesis on the rock and dodge its attacks. Dibwa says, I thought I was going to die. Plum says to him, you take on stumps. There are so many stumps there. Plum says, I'll deal with the boss bastard. Dibwa tries to stop him, but he is so fast. Plum attacks Stumpy with fire arrow.
Dibo thinks, no.
It's not something you can defeat without a plan. We need to run for it. Stumpy dodges the attack easily, but suddenly it gets hit by another arrow. Dibwa is shocked after seeing that the arrow pierced through Stumpy. Plum uses the arrow again. He thinks, its branches move way faster than I expected, so it's impossible to use telekinesis to evade them and attack through the gaps at the same time. However, since I am now a second circle, I can conjure magic 2 times. Stumpy is getting damaged. Dibwa is shocked and thinks it's incredible to hide another fire arrow behind the first one. No matter how fast he is, he won't be able to block 2 consecutive attacks like that. To think that Stumpy is helpless to those attacks. This human is more of a monster than I thought. Dibwa gets scared after seeing that so many stumps are going after Palm. Dibwa warns him about stumps and asks him to watch his back. Palm easily destroys all the stump monsters. Palm says, Dibwa, you can't properly handle the little ones? Palm is about to get hit by Stumpy. Palm thinks, if I show a gap for even a moment, he is about to get attacked and also can't dodge it mid-air. But suddenly Dibwa shows up and saves Palm. Dibwa says, I just saved you. So take back about how you blamed me just now, okay? Palm smiles and says, okay, you finally seem useful. Then, let's go. This is the end of the video. Subscribe for the next part.